Senator, back at it for another year, almost a month into the session already, but first committee hearings are now underway.
When you say it that way, it doesn't seem like we've been here that long, but yes, I think we're in our fourth week now. We had committee hearings actually last week, so I think we'll have some bills getting to the floor this week. At least that's what they talked about before. It's been an unusual start because of COVID, but it's got a strong start, and the Senate is progressing like things are somewhat normal, at least through the processes.
For you, is there any legislation you're focusing on and hoping to see make it through fruition this year?
I am. I filed several bills. One of the ones that's closest to my heart is an effort I've been doing since I've been here for about 10 years now, and that's what is commonly called education reform. I'm trying to target low-income parents whose kids are presently in a school that's not successful. I'm not assigning blame. I'm not saying anything. I'm just trying to give parents that would like to get their kids in a more successful building the ability to do that, whether it's a private school or a public school. It's a tuition tax credit scholarship, and it simply lets people donate money via a tax credit program to the treasurer's office. The treasurer then will, when people apply for the scholarship plan, if he approves their entry into it, he will open a 529 account like we can do today, like you can do for your own children, and fund that with this tax credit money. And then they'll be able to spend that money in a public or private school of their choice that hopefully will meet their needs and give their kids a chance to get a decent education so they have a shot at the American dream.
New ideas can be difficult sometimes, and it can be a long road on some of these issues in terms like you just mentioned about this very bill.
It is, and I think education is the toughest issue we deal with in Jeff City because it's rural versus urban. Most of the people in the rural areas are pretty happy with their schools. There's some schools out there that struggle, though. If you actually look at the tests and APR numbers, everything is not Mayberry. So there are some schools out there that struggle. A lot of people just don't realize that. But more importantly, a lot of times people that oppose education reform will say you're threatening public financing with this. The truth is, for every dollar that doesn't come to Jeff City, 32 cents is not going to education because that's about what percent they get of the money we raised. But for every kid that takes the scholarship plan, they come off the foundation formula, so that's a dollar for dollar savings. So it's actually a big savings for traditional public K-12 education in the state. We'll see how it goes. I filed it last year. The COVID interruption made everything kind of fall apart. I'm hopeful that it has a chance this year. I'm open for modifications to it for people that maybe have some qualms about it. I'm going to work real hard talking to other senators, make sure they understand it, and if they have any questions that satisfy that. But I have no illusions that it's going to be easy. It's a long, rough slog.
And that's part of it, is getting that word out there to those who would be most affected by this.
It is. I don't know if you remember a few years ago, probably in 13 and 14, the problem with St. Louis had some failing districts that were unaccredited. And we passed, finally, after several years, we passed a transfer bill 2 years in a row, vetoed both times. But it was a gigantic work sitting down with legislators at the time I was in the House and walking them through the bill. What I found very helpful was when the rural legislators realized it was not going to impact their districts. Because the rural districts, I'm from Lee Summit, Missouri, which is right by Kansas City, and high school camaraderie and the team spirit of the schools is very significant. But in some of these rural areas, it's really, really big. They identify with their schools, their team mascots, the teams. They wanted to be assured that what we were doing was not going to interrupt what they had. And I think I was successful in doing that. The bill did get through except for the governor's veto. I'm hoping that this year we can make modifications as we go forward that again lets rural legislators realize this will not impact them. And then perhaps if it's wildly successful in 10 years, they'll take another look at it and say maybe we should do something like that in our areas. But until then, it will at least help the kids in these big urban school districts.